Ray Taylor is your average unwanted girl of the streets that has nothing to do but to work herself to death. Fortunately, due to her connections with the Pride Month, some god who hates dealing with these kinds of people reincarnates her into a fantasy world where she can start her romantic life with a noble. Like every mappa worker, Rei Uhashi works overtime almost every day without receiving proper compensation. The only meaningful thing in her life is a dating simulator known as Revolution. However, all the stress from work combined with the screen time results in her death. Unexpectedly, she wakes up in the world of Revolution as the female protagonist Ray Taylor. Just like the game, she finds herself being bullied by a student of noble lineage, Claire Francois, also known as the love of her life. Immediately, the all-out scissor-loving Ray confesses her love in front of the entire class. Naturally, Claire feels embarrassed and lost on what to do next. She tries to continue the bullying, but for some reason this little sadist just enjoys every bit of it. From that day onward, Claire tries many things from pushing her to the ground to hiding her notebook. However, every tactic of her backfires on her as Ray finds a way to act resilient and mess with her instead. In private, Misha Jur fulfills her role as a friend, warning Ray to stop acting like Claire's little sister in front of everyone. As a matter of fact, she is one of the leading nobles families in the Kingdom of Boer who can skin her alive. Although Ray suggests that Claire is a kind-hearted person because she never really takes her bullies to a serious note, in reality, she just tries to hide her sensitive and fragile side with an over-the-top villainess type persona. Over the next few days, the bullying from Claire remains constant as ever. Despite this, Ray enjoys the process and finds creative ways to annoy her. Ultimately, Claire openly gives up, accepting defeat in the face of her resistance. Unfortunately, this is the complete opposite of what Ray wants out of this whole thing, which means that she has to find some way to annoy the hell out of Claire. Luckily for her, that moment arrives when the three princes of the game Rodbauer, Eubauer, and Thanebauer make an entrance. Back in the original game, the protagonist had to compete with Claire for one of the three princes. However, Ray doesn't give one crap about them, as she is only interested in the rainbow stuff. As usual, the hot-headed Claire loses her composure and starts blushing like your normal anime chick in front of her crush Thane. Being the master of the game, Ray also knows that she has the wets for him. Rightfully so, she uses this detail to her advantage and flusters Claire into saying that she is not interested in Thane. Suddenly, they are all back at square one exactly like Ray planned. Angered, Claire then challenges Ray to a one-on-one showdown in the upcoming exams. As per demands, Claire asks her to leave the school once she has lost the bet, whereas Ray says that Claire will complete the task without any backtalk. On the day of the exams, Ray soars through the question paper because she has already completed this quest 1,000 times. Although competing in the etiquette exam isn't as easy in real life. Lastly, the class moves on to their practical magic skills exams, where the teacher goes through your average isekai magic system. Later, as everyone shoots at the target with magic, Rod notices that Ray deliberately missed her mark by moving the wand at the last minute. Back in their class, the teacher announces the results of the previous exams. Undoubtedly, Ray comes out on top with the title "Un Miserable" written under her name. Immediately, Claire and everyone in the class are shocked by the unmeasurable title, as no one in the history of the academy ever received one. Naturally, all the students start their own speculations on the reason behind the title. However, only Rod asks if Ray purposely missed the target on the exams day. Yu chimes in, revealing that Ray got a perfect score without hitting the bullseye. Eventually, Rod theories that Ray must have exceptional magic aptitude for two elements, making her a dual caster. Unbeknownst to them, Ray does have exceptional level affinity for both water and earth. Yet, Claire doesn't want to believe that a commoner could receive such a gift. Afterwards, Ray goes outside to crash Claire's little tea party with the minions. There, she asks her to fulfill her promise that was made before the game. Initially, Claire tries to dodge the bullet, thinking that Ray might tie her up like a slave. Unexpectedly, Ray asks her to make a promise to God, swearing that she won't give up no matter whatever happens. Later the same day, Claire and her head maid pick out a new personal maid for her. For some reason, Ray comes to the interview, hoping to slay Claire in bed and earn a living out of it. Despite the headmaid's emphasis on Ray's hard work, Claire starts freaking out like a complete brat, saying that there is no way in hell Ray will become her maid. Following all the tantrum, the Duke of the House Dole Francois enters the room. Naturally, he sides with Claire's decision and tells Ray to pack her bags. However, Ray plays a hidden card, hinting about all the corruption Dole has been doing. Ultimately, after a long private conversation, Dole orders both Claire and the headmaid that Ray will be joining their house. From that day, Ray masterfully fulfills her fantasies by helping her change for school every morning. Meanwhile, Lini, a maid who has been with Claire since childhood, joins them at the breakfast table. Apparently, she is more of a big sister to Claire rather than a housemaid. Later in school, the object of the game Rod starts flirting with Ray. As it turns out, there were 3 routes the original game went. Obviously, Ray chooses Thane each time because it's the road where Claire made the most appearance. Just like this, the rest of Ray's day passes alongside Claire, as she completes her maid duties. At night, before going to bed, Ray and Lena help clean Claire in the most refreshing bath one can experience. There, Ray helps by cleaning her mistress' hair and back, allowing her to fulfill another wet fantasy. In the dead of the night, she sneaks into her room only to find Claire dizzy to the heat of the bath. In the flow of the moment, the two of them start their Ray's real intention towards her. In reality, Claire doesn't buy the whole "I love you with my heart and soul" bullshit that Ray keeps clinging to. In the end, Ray says that she will try harder to show her sincere love. The following day at school, Rod and Ray go head-to-head in a chess match. As the game goes on, Ray finds a way to corner him with a sneaky check, impressing everyone in the room. However, Rod counterattacks at the nick of time and wins the game with a checkmate. He compliments Ray on her game, assuming that she's been playing for a while. However, she reveals that this was the first time she played chess on a board. In reality, she has played Rod and the other princes for an uncountable time. Despite the revelation, Rod believes that she was going easy on him. Curious, Claire forces her new maid to teach chess because she wants to beat the princes in chess. Along the gameplay, Yu interrupts their lesson by dropping an obvious hint to help Claire win. Although, he mentions that she has been walking in Ray traps from the beginning. He then invites the two of them alongside Misha for a poker game in his room. In the beginning of the first round, Yu strikes a conversation with Ray, telling her to give it her all unlike the game with Rod. As the thing goes on, Ray remembers that Misha has a huge crush on Yu, her childhood friend. In the future, they will get closer once Misha's family goes completely broke. Back in the game, Ray swaps her straight hand with another one, thinking that Yu has some better cards. Unfortunately, she blows up the game, which allows Yu to display his full house and win the game. Although, Ray notices that the game was rigged from the start, as both of them had aces in the first hand. Still, Ray knows that anything she says will be used against her. After the game, Ray takes Claire and Lena to a corner where they find Thane playing a musical instrument. Being an impatient girl, Claire interrupts the music and starts ranting on his face for no reason whatsoever. Annoyed by the girl with daddy's money, Thane packs his stuff and decides to leave. Luckily, Ray saves the day by suggesting that they should play a king's game to determine if he's fit to lead the kingdom. The four of them draw lots and become king one by one. Thane starts off by ordering number 3 and 4 to hold hands like a couple, but Ray takes it quite far. Lastly, when Ray becomes the king, she cheats in the game with the help of Lene and orders Thane and Claire to kiss each other. At that moment, he realizes that the game is nothing but nonsense and walks away. Later in the evening, Misha pops up an unexpected question, asking if Ray is an all-out twink. Without any hesitation, she comes out of the closet as a full supporter of the rainbow. Unintentionally, Claire hurts Ray's feelings because she feels more insecure by her presence. Instantly, Misha points this out and reminds Claire that Ray isn't a molester of some kind. Amidst of the conversation, Ray remembers that her feelings of love were never met, back in the same sense. Due to this, she decides to stay with Claire's side and take the rejections in a fun way, since it is the only that she can hold her bottle-up feelings inside the heart. Out of nowhere, a couple of girls enter the cafe and start gossiping about Ray, who's the worst trash ever. She doesn't really care about that much, but Claire loses her cool and spills a glass of water on them. During their next field class, Professor Torrid goes over how your average isekai magic fight stones helps researchers create magic tools like wands and stuff. However, Ray reveals that magic stones are also responsible for turning normal animals into man-eating monsters from Ghostbusters. With that said, the class begins their target practice, but as usual, Ray is lost in her daydreams. Unintentionally, she releases a lot of magical power, revealing the true potential of a dual caster. Following this, Claire fires a shot without warning and takes all the spotlight for herself. The two of them then start bickering like an old couple who haven't fudged in a while. Luckily, Professor Torrid comes along to stop the fight, reminding them that magic can be dangerous. As it turns out, Claire goes on to reveal that Torrid is the kingdom's first tricaster who has helped their kingdom prosper in magic research. Eventually, the lesson resumes once again, with Torrid explaining the properties of offensive and defensive magic. Honestly, I think this magic system is just a ripoff of The Last Airbender, as all elements have their counter-elements. Furthermore, in this world, water can also be used to heal others. Finally, the class resumes their magic practice by building earth walls and shooting fire spells. In the middle of all this, Rod and Yu come along to ask their plans about the upcoming night's exam, which allows the students to participate in hunts and stuff. Initially, Ray isn't excited about the exam because the event was made to score affectionate points with the prince. However, Rod raises her excitement by revealing that she can be Claire's knight in shining armor. A few moments later, a giant slime monster jumps out of the bushes, which leads to a sudden panic attack. All the students start to evacuate the forest, but Ray realizes that Torrid's magic isn't enough to kill the beast. Immediately, she rushes to the front lines and casts an advanced earth spell to hold the monster at bay. This allows all the other students to attack the monster simultaneously, hoping that its magic stone will be destroyed. Unfortunately, the plan fails as the monster screams in anger, immobilizing everyone on sight. The monster then catches Ray and a bunch of other students alongside Claire. At this point, Ray knows that an event like this happened in the game, which allowed one of the princes to rescue her, and in doing so, increase their affection points. Yet this time she chooses Claire as her knight in shining armor. Thankfully, Claire manages to free herself from the monster's capture. Together with the help of Thane, she fires a spell at its center and defeats the monster for good. Naturally, everyone storms around the two of them with showers of praise. On the other hand, Ray uses this moment to sneak into the forest only to find a baby slime in the corner. She realizes that the mommy slime was just protecting her child from all the shots fired by the students. In order to protect it from wild animals, she uses a contract seal to tame the slime. Afterwards, she notices that both Thane and Claire are about to have a moment. Unintentionally, she steps on a wooden stick, revealing her presence on the scene and ruining the moment. Instantly, Claire rushes towards her and asks if she was hurt in the previous battle. She also displays huge character development by thanking Ray for holding the monster in place. Naturally, Claire objects to the fact that Ray wants to keep the same monster that they defeated as a pet. In an attempt to persuade her, she tells the slime to follow simple orders like sit, lay down, and roll over, which is obediently not followed by Raylair the slime. Lastly, she feeds Claire a lie that slimes can transform into the most beautiful thing in their surroundings. However, they just do that to avoid getting eaten by other things. After a few days, Ray, Claire, and Misha pass the written night exam along with the three princes. Still, Rod goes on to reveal that the real practical test is about to begin, which will truly determine if they pass or not. Just like before, Claire takes Ray into the corner to strike a bet with the same old conditions as before. All of a sudden, little slime comes out of her jacket and captures the attention of everyone present on the scene. Amidst all the fun, Lorik Kugret, the captain of the Knights team, which is basically the same as the student council president alongside his vice captain Lambert. They ask the 6 participants to shut their traps and move their bums onto the battle arena. There, Lorik takes the commentator seat, announcing that the most thrilling matches will be you versus Thane, Rod versus Misha, and Claire versus Ray. The competition begins with the battle of 2 princes that will potentially shake the arena. Without wasting a moment, Thane uses his air magic to increase his agility and strength, allowing him to go on the offensive. Simultaneously, Yu, also known as the Ice Prince, starts things slow with a few defensive spells. As the match progresses, he adds some distance between them using ice magic. However, Thane easily counters this by using compressed air as walking stepstones. Despite Yu's desperate attempts at stopping his advance, Thane takes the upper hand and wins the battle. Although, he senses that Yu was holding back since he didn't use any sort of healing magic. After a few battles, both Rod and Misha take the stage, which increases the energy in the crowd. Impatient as ever, Rod goes on the offensive, but Misha manages to evade his attacks with wind magic. She manipulates the air and removes the oxygen from the surrounding area to burn out Rod's fire. Yet this doesn't affect him in the slightest, as he continues his barrage and deprives Misha of oxygen. Lastly, Claire and Ray take the stage for what seems to be the most exciting match in the history of the Academy. With the signal given, Ray starts off the match with a simple earth barrier. Unexpectedly, Claire melts the barriers like marshmallows on a stick. Following that, she goes on the offensive, thinking that rocks is all Ray has. Unexpectedly, she puts up a wall made from metal that is stronger than steel with a 2000 degrees Celsius boiling point. To counter this move, Claire copies Rod's move and starts to deprive her of oxygen. Still, Ray proves to be quite a foe as she attacks with the same defensive wall in order to capture her. However, Claire jumps in the sky and launches a crazy powerful warning shot at her. She starts ranting about her powerful skills, but before it ends, Ray digs a hole under her feet to bury her 6 feet under. Despite the fall, she insists on continuing the fight. Thane reminds her that Ray is a dual caster who hasn't even cast a single water spell. Hence, the night's exams end with Ray as the winner. Much to everyone's surprise, all of them passed the exams because their overall performance was evaluated. Well, Lorik pulled Chunin exams on them. Afterwards, Ray cashes in her request, asking Claire to swear that she won't give up no matter what. At their first night council meeting, Lorek mentions that everyone will be knights in dining armor, as they will open a cafe at the upcoming school festival. After that terrible dad joke, Rod voices his opinion, stating a normal cafe is pretty boring for nobles like them. Unintentionally, Ray thinks out loud and says that a normal maid or butler cafe won't work in this world. This gives Rod the idea to open a cafe where the ladies will be butlers and the men will be maids. If you thought this can't go more rainbow, then here's your chance to think again. Following the eldest brother, both Yu and Thane agree that his plan is the best. Among the females, Misha and Ray also agree because they want to see their respective crushes in hot outfits. Still, Claire, the only sane person left at the not-so-round table, disagrees with their idea and labels it preposterous. However, Ray changes the decision by throwing in some visual detail about Thane in a maid outfit. After the meeting, Lambert exclusively assigns a task of finding a haunting person-like creature that has been seen in the kitchen late at night. Whoever found the damn thing had strange gooey marks all over them. Ray baits Claire into accepting the mission by hitting her ego right in the balls. The same night, the two new Ghostbusters make their way into the kitchen to prove that ghosts don't exist. Wait, maybe I mixed up two completely different shows. Nonetheless, Ray leaves Claire inside the kitchen area while she investigates the back of the kitchen. After a while, Claire accidentally puts her hand on some gooey stuff and screams like a little child. Immediately, Ray comes rushing to the kitchen and calms her down. She then goes back and returns with a chocolate cake along with some hot coffee. This is when Claire realizes that Ray is the one who's sneaking in the kitchen every night to make desserts for her. Although even she doesn't know about the origins of the gooey handprints, but as it turns out, the gooey stuff was R'hllor. Ultimately, the two of them decide to spend the night in the kitchen because no one wants to walk back in the hallways. During her sleep, Claire remembers the day her mother left on her birthday. That day, she didn't want her parents to leave for work, but Dole made it clear that work is more important. Naturally, she expressed her hate for the two of them and ran inside. Later that day, all the maids gathered together to celebrate her birthday and gave her a nice little brush. Claire expected to brush her mother's hair, but all she could do was visit her grave because she died in an accident. The next day, Ray prepares delicacies for them to serve in their cafe at the upcoming festival. Instantly, Claire guesses that Ray bought mayonnaise from the most famous restaurant to make her sandwiches. However, in privacy, Lene confronts her because she thinks that Ray is the one supplying the restaurant with the recipes. In the end, she comes out clean, but asks Lene to keep everything a secret from Claire. Still, she promises to teach her the recipes at night. However, Lean, being a loudmouth, shares everything regarding the cooking class with Claire. Ultimately, both Ray and Lenny make new delicacies for her to try the entire night. In the morning, days before the Foundation Festival, Ray asks Lainey to train everyone participating in the cafe gig about service and hosting. Apparently, Rod was the one who originally asked Ray for help regarding the matter, which means that Claire can't really object. Unexpectedly, Len switches to her alter ego and scares the hell out of everyone in the class. Firstly, she teaches everyone to bow down and greet their masters like real maids. Afterwards, Claire shares her shock upon seeing her alter ego come out of the box, although she knew that Lainey was different from the moment the head brought her to the mansion. Despite her acting like a complete spoiled brat, Lainey showed patience and trained her in the ways of a noble lady. This tells Ray that both Claire and Lainey were stubborn and gullible ever since childhood. After a few days, on the Foundation Festival, the Café marquees a grand opening with all the boys in maid outfits. Without any complication, all of them service the customers, stunning all the customers. Taking advantage of the moment, Ray puts on her student uniform and orders Claire to treat her like a noble. Afterwards, during rush hours, Marcel Loro, a crown prince of another country, drops by their cafe. With a pretty shit attitude, he treats Ray like she's some sort of only fangirl. Instantly, she realizes this fact from the original game where one of the crown princes comes to save the heroine. Thankfully, this time Claire comes to the rescue with a bold statement, claiming that their sandwiches are the best in the world. Back in the staff room, she expresses her frustration over nobles that think that they are the top G because Daddy got some cash. This reminds Lenny of the day on which Claire saved her from a similar situation at a luxury gown store. The two of them then laughed in the carriage as Claire told her that Line is the highest-ranked noble in the country. Later, during lunch break, Ray compliments Claire for elegantly serving all the customers. However, she claims that putting on a facade is nothing impressive because nobles are taught the art of faking emotions early in their life. Eventually, Ray throws the conversation out of the window and asks her to explore the rest of the festival. The two of them then spend the entire afternoon having fun in different places. In the evening, Ray goes to buy water for her, and along the way she finds a beautiful amulet. Unexpectedly, a commoner studying at the academy stops her, saying that she should join their communist movement. In that instance, Claire appears on the scene, forcing Ray to abandon the conversation. Alone on the bench, she gives her the pendant with the hopes that one day Thane and Claire will marry. As a matter of fact, Claire's happiness is all that Ray wants. Claire seconds this opinion by reminding her that their relationship is that of a master and servant. Following this statement, Ray mentions that the nobles of power were just strong families who took over in order to maintain balance. Still, to emphasize on meritocracy, the king started admitting commoners in the academy through special scholarships, although none of it really affected the discrimination nobles had for commoners. The next morning, Ray, Claire, and Misha learn that Yu's subordinate D-Day has put a commoner kid named Matt in the hospital. They make their way into the infirmary only to find him wrapped in bandages and brutally injured. Eventually, they convince him to cooperate with the knights to solve the matter as quickly as possible. Unexpectedly, Matt was pitching his whole idea to Yu, and that is when Didi came along with some hateful comments. He made a comment saying that nobles are leeches that live off tax money, which landed him in the hospital. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Didi confesses in front of Yu and Lambert, pleading that he only meant to scare the commoner away because he wanted to protect the prince's honor. Outside of the academy, the common folk start a protest against all the nobles and threaten to enter the premises themselves. Naturally, both Thane and Rod blame Yu for not taking his position into account when talking to the Communist Party. Although, he recites the scripture of the church which reads that all creatures are equal in front of gods. Upon hearing this, Ray goes on to reveal that Yu is the third son of the king, born from his second wife, who is also the leader of the church. In reality, the king wanted to control the church with the marriage. However, things changed, and the church grew even more powerful. A while later, the knights announced that Didi will be subject to 1 week of house arrest for hurting Matt in such a brutal way. Rightfully so, all the commoners rise in anger, as they can't believe that 1 week vacation is the sentence Didi got. As it turns out, Lorek exposes the truth, saying that nobles were behind the scene. This causes the three princes to start fighting like actual brothers, but Claire tells them to calm down. She thinks that their enemy might want the three princes to start fighting, allowing them to weaken the unity of the kingdom. Later in the evening, Ray puts a sleeping spell on Claire and asks Lini to stay with her in the room no matter what happens. She knows that the academy gate will be breached the same night. As predicted, a mysterious man takes out all the guards and allows the common folk to break into the academy. Meanwhile, inside, Ray catches Lambert red-handed in the evidence room. She flushes his plans of calling a monster into the academy down the drain. Unexpectedly, Lambert is doing all this because he is in an incest relationship with his sister Lene. In that instance, she arrives with a knife to Claire's throat, demanding Ray to let her brother free. To make things worse, the same man breaks in from outside and tempts Lambert into summoning forth a chimera. At this point, Ray is at a loss because none of the things happening were in the plot line of the game. Ultimately, both Claire and Ray have no choice left but to run for their lives. However, in order to save both Lene and Lambert, the two of them decide to stand their ground and fight. With great struggle, Ray manages to freeze the chimera into one place, although she knows that it won't be enough, as it possesses all 4 elements. Before it breaks free from the ice, Ray comes up with a plan to deal with the creature head-on using their trust in each other as a catalyst. The moment it breaks free, Ray throws a few stones to capture its attention. Following this, she leads the chimera to Claire's location, where they hit it with a combined spell, killing it on the spot. Just as they celebrate, the mysterious man appears on the scene, aiming to kill Claire. Thankfully, Thane jumps in the line of action in order to save the day. In doing so, he gets poisoned by a small dagger, but still he manages to drive the man away. Luckily, Ray learned about the antidote of the poison in the game, which allows her to neutralize it easily. A few moments later, Rod comes to the scene in a panic and carries Thane on his back. Simultaneously, the military guards capture both Lambert and Lene for being prime suspects in the revolt. After a few days in class, Lorek announces that everything has been settled and the Communist Party is going back to China. Amidst the conversation, Rod and Yu spoil all the fun by revealing that the king will reward them for their bravery. Immediately, she whispers something into Claire's ear, hoping that they might save Lene and her brother from execution. Just as planned, Claire presents her wish in front of the king, queen, and the rest of the lowly squad. However, with Sala's counsel, the king decides that their punishment won't be pardoned even if they contributed their bums to the economy. Thankfully, as all hope seems lost, Thane arrives in the throne room and suggests that they should pardon them. After thinking a while, the king announces that Lambert and his family will be exiled from the county. On the borders of the city, Ray and Claire find Lenny and Lambert leaving the city alongside her family. As a matter of fact, they were disowned by the family the moment they heard about the situation. In order to help her make a living, Ray gives her a few more recipes from Earth that will help her. Just before stepping outside, Claire comes out of the shell, saying that they will meet once again. In the end, Ray tightly hugs her from behind and tells her that it is okay to cry sometimes. Days have passed since Lean's departure from the kingdom, yet Claire can't manage to forget about her, as she mistakenly calls Ray by Lena's name each morning. Despite this, Ray cheers her up as always, but nowadays those old tricks fail to accomplish anything. However, a letter from her distant sister, Manaria Suse, informing about her sudden arrival, cheers her up. Later that day in school, Claire reunites with her sister, which instantly cheers her mood. From that moment, she starts boasting about Manaria's magical ability and her mastery over 4 elements. With that said, the two of them travel back into memory lane right after Claire's mother was killed in an accident. Due to immense work pressure, Dole had to leave her in the care of distant relatives. There, she first met Manaria, and apparently she mistook her for a charming prince. Afterwards, every student in the school starts talking about Princess Manaria and her beauty. She becomes an instant sensation in the school, stealing everyone's undivided attention. Later in class, she telepathically connects with Ray in hopes of learning about her talents and past. Yet, she doesn't show her any carrots or grass to feed on. During free lectures, Rod interrupts the girls' quality time with the intentions of fighting Manaria in a duel. For some reason, this dude thought that challenging the Avatar, a master of all 4 elements, was a good idea. As expected, the battle goes sideways for Rod, as Manaria dismantles all of his spells with the unique magic spell known as Spellbreaker. After that battle, Claire and Manaria have a tea party with Thane and Yu. There, the new student learns about Ray's one-sided love towards Claire. Taking advantage of the moment, she starts flirting with her in order to rile Ray up. Furthermore, she even takes over Ray Milady duties like getting Claire ready for school in the morning, along with other unnecessary flirty stuff. At night, she vents all her anger on Misha, stating that Manaria wants to provoke her into a fight. Still, a part of her believes that things are turning out for the best, as Claire has been happy ever since Manaria showed up at school. In the following class, Rod announces that monster extermination is being planned for the upcoming ceremony. This time, all the students are going to help the military deal with the little monsters, and to ensure everyone's safety, they will form teams of 3. Later during tea break, the group discusses the philosophy behind the ceremony of measuring one's love with offerings. Amongst them, Ray thinks that in the original folklore, the priestess should have just chosen a man instead of making the two of them fight. However, Claire disagrees, as picking one over the other is a difficult task. With that said, Ray goes back into the kitchen to brew some more tea. For some reason, Claire's 2 nameless minions follow her to the kitchen to reveal that Manaria had some affairs with girls in her military. Later that night, she comes to have a nice long chat with Ray under the full moon. To start things off, she determines that Ray's love for Claire is shallow as a puddle on the road. This completely makes her go crazy and accepts her challenge to a one-on-one duel. Furthermore, the winner of the duel will win over Claire for life. The following day, the two of them meet face-to-face with the entire school as their witness. Without any hesitation, Ray goes all out in the first few minutes of the match. However, Manaria swiftly manages to counter every spell thrown at her. She then counters with the most brutal spell known to man that uses a caster's magic against them. This severely injures Ray on the spot, causing Claire to panic like hell. Thankfully, Manaria heals her in an instant before things could get serious. Although at this point, Ray has realized that she has lost Claire forever. After the battle, Ray resigns from being a maid to Claire without any reason. Following the resignation, Manaria confronts her and calls her a liar for saying that she doesn't want her love to be returned. Furthermore, Manaria reveals that a similar tragedy happened to her back at home. Unfortunately, she didn't have the courage to voice her feelings, which made her lost the best chance. At this point, she will corrupt Claire to the core, unless Ray wants to do something about it. Once again, the two of them bet Claire's future on the line. However, this time, Manaria says that Ray will also be hers if she loses in the ceremony. Unexpectedly, Claire learns about the competition from Manaria and gets completely pissed off. Thane tells her that Ray is out of a job because she accepted every monster elimination quest on the notice board. Meanwhile, in the forest, Ray continues to slay monster after monster, knowing that Manaria will bring the highest offering ever known to man. Later that afternoon at the ceremony, everyone starts measuring their love for various girls to decide their future together. After a while, Manaria comes along with the highest offering of the Flower of Flora. Confident in her victory, she leans in to kiss Claire in order to seal the deal. Simultaneously, Ray arrives on the scene with nothing but a twig. Surprisingly, that twig turns into a huge tree, allowing her to win the bet. In the end, Ray goes down on her knees saying that she wants to stay by her side not as a maid but as her lifelong partner. In that moment, Manaria hugs Ray from behind, revealing that she was after her all along. Despite this, Claire unintentionally confesses that Ray is hers for the rest of their life. With that said, Minaria leaves the academy due to some succession disputes in her country. Meanwhile, the others are hoping to get an invite to their wedding as soon as possible. Hopefully, you will share your insightful thoughts about the Pride Month and this anime. Of course, if you want to stay away from Rainbow, then leave a sub to prove your loyalty to the cause.